Hey y'all, today we're gonna make some homemade cinnamon rolls, and I have a large mixing bowl here and I have 2 cups of all-purpose flour, and that's what we're gonna start with. Now I'm adding in a 1/2 cup sugar and a teaspoon of salt. It's time for the yeast. We're going to put in 2 packages of fast rising instant yeast. We're just gonna whisk all that together. So this is our flour, yeast, sugar, and salt. So in a measuring cup here, I have 1.5 cups of water and 6 tablespoons of unsalted butter that I have let sit till it's room temperature. And so I've cut it up into cubes and put it in this cup. And we're going to microwave it for 30 to 45 seconds or until it's pretty well melted. You don't want it too hot or it will kill your yeast and your rolls will not rise. So be cautious to that. Okay, so our butter and our water is warmed and we're going to put in 1 egg and whisk that together well and pour it into our dry ingredients. All right, so I have all the dry ingredients incorporated into the wet ingredients. And now we're going to add in 2 more cups of flour. So the other 2 cups of flour are incorporated well, and we're going to add in another 1/2 cup. After this, your dough should start getting really thick and almost hard to stir. So if your dough's getting thick, you're doing it right. Okay, so I ended up kneading the dough with my hands because it got too difficult to do with the spoon. And once you've kneaded it enough, you should be able to put your finger in and it should not stick. So now we're gonna let this rest for about 10 minutes and it will nearly double in size. Our bread has proofed in the oven for about 10 minutes and it has basically doubled in size. So we're going to put it on a floured countertop and start working. We have flattened our dough here on a floured surface, and I don't have a rolling pin, so I did it with my hands. And I tried to make this as close to a rectangle as I could. And now we're gonna put our brown sugar, butter, and cinnamon on. Here we go. A 1/2 stick of melted butter and put it here on the dough. And then we're gonna take our hands and get that all the way up to the edges. And we're gonna do something a little different. I'm sure most videos for cinnamon rolls you've seen, you roll this up and you cut it into your actual cinnamon rolls, but we're going to show you a technique today that is a whole lot easier. So I hope this will help you guys. I have 2/3 cup brown sugar and a little more than a tablespoon of cinnamon. And now we're just going to sprinkle that over the top of this and then take our hands and get this all the way to the edges just like we did the butter. I've added the cinnamon and the sugar to our cinnamon rolls. And then I took a pizza cutter and just went all around the edges to clean them up. And so now our dough looks nice and every single roll will be covered with all the goodness on the inside. And I have buttered a casserole dish. I just took a stick of butter and went all the way around it and made sure it is well greased. And then I'm going to cut these in about 1-inch strips and roll them up and put them in our pan. So I have the 12 cinnamon rolls in our buttered dish. And I cut them into 1-inch strips, put them in here. So these are going in the oven for about an hour to proof. I'm not actually gonna turn the oven on. Some ovens have a proofing setting on them. If you don't, just keep them in a warm place for about an hour to finish rising. And then we'll give you the next step. So we've proofed our cinnamon rolls for about an hour and a half in the oven and now have preheated the oven to 350 degrees. Take them out while your oven is preheating. And once it's preheated, put them back in for 25 to 30 minutes and we'll make the icing while these are cooking. Alrighty, so our cinnamon rolls have maybe 10 minutes left in the oven, so I'm going to go ahead and make the icing. We're going to start with 6 tablespoons of butter and 1/2 block of cream cheese, or 4 ounces. And I've had these sitting out for a couple of hours, so they're room temperature. And I'll still probably pop them in the microwave 10 seconds or so before I try to mix them, just so the whisk will go through it easily. And then I have a couple tablespoons of milk and 1.5 cups of powdered sugar and a couple teaspoons of vanilla extract, and that will be our icing. So we're going to put it all in this bowl, whisk until smooth, and then we will ice these cinnamon rolls in just a few minutes. I baked these for exactly 32 minutes on 350 degrees, and here's our icing. We got it smooth, no lumps in it. We're gonna ice these, and we are ready to eat. All right, what you think? Is that all right?
That's good.